Dr. Sebi. Dr. Sebi. Let's give him one more round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, yes. Brothers and sisters, the nigga is here. You know why I'm here? It's because of you. You made me. And you didn't even know it. You made me. I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and listen to your brother. Because I want you to know that your presence today let me know that I am supposed to behave accordingly, because you're showing me your love and your respect for the entity, to our ancestors. I love you. I came to America in 1954. I stepped off of the banana boat with a pair of tennis, white pants, white shirt. Never been to school. The boy was 20, 21. You helped me to be what I am. Now, how are we going to connect the dots with the continent from which we were severed? How are we going to connect the dots? We have to. Because never in the history of the black race has we been sick as we are now, in and out of Africa. We are sick. We are so sick that we can't even find a reason why we should come together. And you know something? It's in place. It's right in place. Because you do not feed the food of a gorilla to a polar bear and vice versa. If you feed the food of a polar bear to a gorilla, he too would be confused like we are, because he wasn't designed for that food. His cellular predisposition is not designed to eat meat. Who told us to eat meat? Who did that? The continent of Africa didn't have any cows, and it didn't have any lamb. They didn't have any goats, chicken, or hogs. They didn't have any rice and beans and potatoes and yams and wheat. What did they eat? The anthropologists the archaeologists, the paleontologists, and the scholars. They did not write about that. They write about wisdom. Well, I never knew what that was, and I'm 81 years of age. They talk about knowledge. I still don't know what that is. But you know what they didn't write in their manuals and their books? What we, not you, we were supposed to put in our mouth. They never wrote about that. Why? They didn't write about it because they too were suffering with the same disease that we all are suffering with. The mucus that I told the Supreme Court that represent the one disease is affecting our brain. It's affecting our brain so much so that when I went to the continent the first time many years ago, they asked me for a passport. And I asked the man at the immigration entrance, why do you want to ask me for a passport when this is the continent from which I was severed? I need a passport to come back home. Could you imagine how sick we are? You see it? We need healing. I need healing. So now let's go back into the pages of history. What the anthropologists and the historians write about, what the scholars dismiss. Whenever nature creates something, that something has to follow a rule, a law. You will not find penguins in the desert. You will not find polar bears in the desert. You could only live in the cold. But you will never find a gorilla in the snow. That is not his home. He has to obey that law, that cosmic arrangement. It is like the little frog in Puerto Rico. Cookie? 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 That frog sing you to sleep. But if you remove that frog from Puerto Rico, 9 kilometers away to Piegas, the frog dies. Because you have interfered. You have interfered with the cosmic arrangement of that frog. The frog was not placed in Piegas. Black people were not placed in America. We were placed in Africa. But with that African placement, there was a mandate. Yeah, there was a mandate. Black people, well, let me begin the process of showing what Mama was about. I happened to be in Brazil some years ago. And there was a conversation with a Mexican and a Frenchman. The Mexican was telling the Frenchman, you shut your mouth. We Mexicans make tequila. You Frenchmen don't make no tequila. We are the man. And the Frenchman started laughing and said, you forgot who made champagne. So all of us started laughing because we know that the Frenchman won the argument. So the Mexican said, and what about you, Sebi? What do you have to say about your people? Well, I have a little bit. So the Russian Vladimir said, you better watch what you say about your people. I said, well, Vladimir, because your mama didn't have no clothes on 500 years ago. My mama didn't have no clothes on. I looked at Raul, the Mexican, and said, Raul, did you hear what Vladimir said? He said, yeah, that your mama didn't have any clothes on 500 years ago. And the Frenchman said, why don't you defend her? I have to defend my mama. He just did. But he didn't know it. You see, it's a matter of interpretation. The Frenchman, the Russian said, my mama didn't have any clothes on. He had no idea what he was doing. I said, brother, no. Why did you, of all the items that mama didn't have, you stopped at her clothes? But as for her clothes, you mean to tell me that my mama didn't have no clothes on and walked the jungles of Africa for millions of years among her brothers and sisters and friends? Nobody was jumping on her? I said, right it off, you just messed up. You were showing us that mama lived in a highly ethical society, a highly moral, that she could walk around without no clothes, and nobody was jumping on her. What kind of folks were living then? And if you want to know where the brain were, you take your clothes off during the summer, and you walk the streets of Brooklyn as you was an adult. We begin to see that the contradiction that we have accepted is to be the very thing that caused our demise. Mama, the most powerful of all the genders of the gender. Mama, to tell you and I that the lion is the king of the jungle? Oh yeah. Who teach him what he knows? Who teach the lion what he knows? His mama, isn't it? Yes. Because you never saw a cub in the forest following daddy. Never would you find a cub following daddy. He follows mama. Because she, and she alone, have the secret of life of to raise a child, not a daddy. I am a daddy many, many, many times. I never tell my children anything. Since I was here, my 34-year-old son, I haven't seen him in some time. I never beat Cesar. I never tell Cesar anything.